I've been thinking about how to talk about this for the last 2 months, and I've struggled to figure out what to say. However, I think you, my channel members, deserve an update on where I'm at, given that you support my videos financially. Right now, I'm in the middle of production on my first non-Destiny video for this channel. It's a review of Warframe's new player experience and main story quests. However, because it's going to be more than 2 hours long, I likely won't finish it until sometime in early November. In terms of content strategy, I always intended to cover more than just the Destiny games on this channel, because I didn't want to become pigeonholed by one game or franchise. However, my early Destiny videos were quite successful and gave me a lot of ideas and inspiration for further Destiny videos, so I never got around to covering other topics until now. There's always a risk when branching out, as a lot of the time the audience will see something they like from a creative and just want more of the same, lacking interest in other projects outside that narrow scope. This creates a tension between the creative and the audience, because most creatives have lots of ideas and want to explore more than just one thing, but often those other projects won't get as much traction because they're different than the one successful project they're known for. However, there's the additional factor of the audience gradually losing interest over time as they grow and change as people, which means that you need to simultaneously bring in new viewers to sustain a creative project. Sometimes you can do that even if you're pigeonholed to the one thing, but other times you can't without experimenting with something new. This tension is something that I've been very aware of for years. I even made a video about it on an old channel where I called it the YouTuber paradox. A more accurate name, since this applies to more than just YouTubers, would be the creative paradox. A bit of housekeeping though, that channel doesn't exist anymore, largely because most of the videos I made on it were pre-transition, so I would prefer that you don't try to find it for privacy reasons. This paradox has slowly caused my audience to disappear over the course of 2025. I largely made similar kinds of videos about Destiny, but after January, each new video I posted performed worse and worse across all metrics, until September, when things reached a breaking point. At that point, I got so frustrated that I finally solicited feedback about why my audience wasn't watching my videos anymore. I got lots of very helpful and insightful feedback, but the overwhelming response was that my audience just wasn't interested in Destiny as much anymore. This was very frustrating to me because it's something that's completely out of my control, and I was still very interested and invested in Destiny, plus had lots of video ideas I wanted to make, but ultimately I decided I needed to pause making Destiny videos to try something else. Making videos is a creative outlet for me, so I want to make videos that are creatively fulfilling, but also a big part of the appeal is connecting with other people by entertaining them and making them think. It was getting to the point where my Destiny videos often couldn't break 1,000 views on a channel with nearly 6,000 subscribers. This tells me that the audience isn't interested anymore, so if I want to keep connecting with existing and new audiences, I need to do something new to get people interested again. It also is very disheartening to put months of work into a new essay and then have very few people in the audience show much interest or watch it. It's even more confusing when most of the feedback I get is very positive. This is why I've tried to sprinkle shorter videos in between the longer essays, because they take substantially less work to make. I also have felt this personally, as I found it increasingly difficult to find 6 people interested and willing to run raids in Destiny with, so despite a number of attempts to organize a run, I still haven't played the epic raid yet. I also have been playing Destiny less and less because the main things that keep me engaged are the story and raid and dungeon content. However, Ash and Iron barely had any story and lore, so I didn't have much to engage with there. Often when consuming media and entertainment, the audience thinks they know what they want, but they don't actually fully know until they see it. This is why novel and surprising creative works can be very exciting. They fulfill a desire you didn't know you had. A lot of people had this response to some of my long-form Destiny lore videos, which was very gratifying for me. My hope with branching out to other topics is that I can create new videos that people resonate with in that way again. However, I also don't want to completely abandon Destiny as I'm still very interested in it, and there's a small portion of my audience who also still is. I still intend to make at least 1 or 2 videos on Renegades when that comes out, and then gauge interest from the response to those videos before deciding what to do next. Another aspect of the Destiny situation is the dire state of the community surrounding it. It seems like right now all people want to talk about is how much Destiny sucks or is in a bad state. This is not to say that nobody likes the game right now, just that they're unfortunately a minority within the larger Destiny community. This has led to an atmosphere that I personally think is a bit toxic. There's a difference between providing constructive feedback about the game to help the developers improve the game's shortcomings, and doom or hate posting about the game constantly, especially in comment sections of posts talking about aspects of the game they're enjoying. This isn't a toxic positivity thing, as I think negative criticism is vital for any creative to improve as long as it's not mean-spirited and doesn't devolve into personal attacks. However, it's become clear that the Destiny community's goodwill has become completely exhausted in the past 2.5 years, and in order for Bungie to get positive feedback from the wider community, they have to make something great, which is a high burden and difficult to do consistently for any creative or group of creatives. Granted, a lot of the negative feedback is deserved for making decisions that are baffling from the outside, because they feel like the complete opposite of the feedback Bungie has been given in past years. However, delivering that feedback in spiteful or hateful posts is just toxic. It matters a lot how you criticize something, as your feedback will not be taken seriously if it's couched in ridiculous statements like, "I hate Bungie," or "I hope they go bankrupt," or "Bungie hates fun," or "Tyson Green is a terrible game director," etc. This whole atmosphere has made engaging with the Destiny community feel increasingly exhausting over the last couple of years, because I just want to enjoy the parts of the game I enjoy and give constructive feedback on the ones I don't, without all this hyperbole. I also don't like posting overly negative videos, because I'm cautious about the impact that kind of feedback can cause for the people behind what I'm criticizing, so I try to be very measured and empathetic when I'm engaging in critique. I'm not perfect either. I have had times where I've said stuff that I later regretted or came off a bit too hot in the comments section or something, and after the fact I'm like, wow, why did I say that? This is not that deep or not that important. I should have been nicer about it. I considered making a video about my problems with the portal, but decided not to because what I had to say wasn't super unique, aside from probably being a bit more analytic and focused on player psychology and incentive structures. I don't think this negative atmosphere is the fault of the Destiny community, or even Bungie, as I've observed similar phenomena in many other niche interest communities I've been a part of over the years. Instead, I think it's a systemic problem with the incentive structures of social media platforms at large. Social media platforms want to capture attention, and in turn sell that attention to advertisers to make money. Thus, to make the most profit, given that most of these platforms are profit-motivated corporations, the best strategy is design their platforms to prioritize engagement. Unfortunately, because of human negativity bias, the most effective way to get someone to engage is to make them feel bad, but in a way that manipulates them into getting addicted to the bad feelings your platform gives them by stoking fear, anxiety, anger, or sadness. For anyone not familiar, negativity bias is an evolutionarily advantageous bias in human attention, where positive information is given lower weight attentionally than negative information. This is because the core evolutionary drive is to survive, and paying attention to negative information helps an organism avoid danger. In the wild, it can help you determine if a predator is nearby or what foods will get you sick if you eat them. Thus, humans and animals more generally are more attentive and alert to negative information because their ancestors learned that focusing on it can keep them safe and alive. However, this creates problems when that negative information doesn't actually compromise survival. People can develop mental health disorders because their brains get stuck on negative information that they're convinced is a sign of danger, when that danger is minimal or in some cases doesn't even exist. In In short, social media platforms are taking advantage of that negativity bias by convincing people they need to pay attention to whatever's trending online because the information is important and might be dangerous, when in reality, a lot of it doesn't actually matter for survival, is relatively trivial, and just makes the people involved feel worse or develop distorted thinking patterns. The only way to break this pattern is to log off and spend time in the real world doing things you enjoy, which is significantly easier said than done, given that these platforms are designed to be addictive. I'm very aware of all these facts given that I've been consciously battling social media addiction for the last 7 to 8 years. After deciding to reduce my engagement with the Destiny community for my own mental health until Renegades, I felt a bit happier. This has been bolstered by the experience of trying Warframe for the video and enjoying the game so much that it's largely replaced the time I would have spent playing Destiny over that month. That's not to say that I plan to quit Destiny and that I'm only a Warframe YouTuber now. Instead, it reflects shifting priorities in what I engage with and what videos I make. I plan to make multiple videos covering Warframe as long as people are interested in watching them. I also plan to branch out and cover other topics and franchises as well. I want to make that Outer Wilds and Tomorrow video I talked about in one of the bonus videos over the summer, but I haven't done it yet because I would like to reread Tomorrow before doing so to make sure that I cover it well. My current thinking is that I want to do more unexpected projects like that outside of the Destiny sphere. However, given that my audience is entirely composed of Destiny players and ex-Destiny players, I'm not sure how that's going to go. There is a setting when you upload a video to not push it to subscription feeds, so I have been considering doing that and letting YouTube's algorithm decide which viewers to show the video to, in the hopes that the algorithm looks outside my typical audience and shows the video to Warframe players who would be more likely to be interested instead. Unfortunately, if you publish a video to subscription feeds, and it's a video most of your audience doesn't care about, it can get buried and never reach outside your core audience because YouTube sees that your audience isn't watching it and assumes that most people outside your audience wouldn't want to either. I just want my videos to be put in front of people who would actually enjoy them, but given how opaque the inner workings of the website are, it's hard to know what I need to do to make that happen, and if I'm doing something wrong or if it's just completely out of my control. The psychological manipulations that YouTube has going on in the analytics and YouTube Studio also don't help, because whenever you have a video that performs well, you get confetti, you get a bunch of green arrows on all your statistics, and whenever you have a video that's not doing well, you get a bunch of gray arrows. When YouTube Studio was in beta like 7 or 8 years ago, they used to be red arrows, but I'm guessing someone realized that having those be red arrows caused distorted thinking in people trying to make YouTube videos and figure out what was doing well and what wasn't, so they made them gray, which doesn't really do very much to actually address the underlying neurosis caused by gamifying analytics. YouTube essentially functions like a Skinner box for creatives who want to make videos and get them seen by people, where it's very difficult to tell if anything you're doing is the right thing or the wrong thing, or if it's completely up to chance and out of your control. Let me know what you think of my plans. I hope you will consider watching my more experimental video topics in the coming months. Above all, thank you for supporting me financially and being a channel member.